Okay, this example I'm going to talk about how to load the page, the entire web page or entire pages into a single page. And this is something, a starting point of Ajax. It's something new, not new, in fact. It's widely accepted uh, standard. Standard itself, I couldn't say because of the reason. It is there from quite long, but suddenly it got popularity. Maybe thanks to Gmail. I hope Gmail widely used Ajax when it was introduced, and this idea picked up lately. First thing, let us see what would be the disadvantage of this particular design. Yes, page refresh happens. Mean the HTTP. Remember, there is a HTTP. Everything we are doing through the hypertext transfer protocol. It's a networking terminology. When a request is made, when you try to access an URL, you are making a request. So you type something, when you enter, you are making a request to the server. In this case, the server is the ID of a server or location of a server is localhost. Maybe any valid domain like anything like google.com or any other, or your own server which you host in internet. So whenever you make a request, the server gives you a response back, and when the response is available, that's where you are seeing this particular design. I'll give you a detailed scenario of how HTTP works and where the disconnection happens, why HTTP is called a stateless protocol, and what way we can use it, or what kind of inference needed in order to create a web solution. For example, you may go ahead and create various applications which is hosted in the internet or client server relationship based. So for this example, I'm just going to make, or I'm going to integrate everything so that the single page itself would load the subsequent pages. See, as I click on the other pages, individual requests being made and the response is served, and registration. Of course, the entire page is rendered again. In between, there is a small white, oh, the refresh happens, assuming that localhost is slightly, or not localhost. If you upload this into internet, if it takes a while, you will end up getting a lot of time, so that the blank screen may appear for a while. So I'm going to integrate it using jQuery. As I said, it's going to be a beginning or maybe the start point of Ajax. And Ajax also have one simple example. I'll try to see if at all any web service URL available so that we can get the response from it. And also we'll see a simple example on how to get the current location of the device. Geolocation. I'll just try to get the current location of the device and send it to Google and convert it into a readable format. You know that Google has a various APIs available, and if you have a latitude and longitude, you can get the readable address. So of course the location of this device, I probably get a latitude and longitude, and I send it to Google Web Services, which is open and can be accessed by having your Gmail registered with the Google services. I did all couple of setup already. You may just take my URL, whatever I'm going to use for your testing purpose. Detail analysis, anyway, we have even in jQuery mobile as well as in iOS, we have a map, another Google Map solution on how to integrate them into our app. There is a concept behind. Detail coverage or detail explanation, I'll give it whenever it required. This particular example is going to be for converting different pages into a single page application. That's a task. It's pretty simple, in fact. But before that, of course, I was talking about the negative side. So every page is recreated, re-rendered. If you notice this design, most probably this is the DOM, or this particular DOM is actually getting changed, not all the one. For example, all the pages. This particular thing stays always, and header also same, right bar is also same. Only thing, this particular DOM is getting changed. So reloading the entire page again and again is stupid idea. Maybe it's a resource consuming process. So putting everything into a single page is going to reduce our bandwidth usage, because we are going to only call the specific DOM which need to be appended to, or sorry, not appended, in fact replaced to the DOM. For that, I just downloaded one small animator, GIF animator maybe. Uh, so how we can put something while the page is rendered. Remember, the while getting if you want to get a remote page, chances are that it may take a while. So for that, I just downloaded an image. Until your desired DOM available, this could be displayed. That's an idea, but I'm not going to use it immediately, but I just kept it. You may go ahead and download that. So I just search Ajax GIF loader GIF or something. You have a number of examples. Sample images available. In that, I just picked this one. So it's just going to animate while it loads the page. Okay, we'll see them, like, if I can, how we can make them. Fine. Okay, index is the page. Maybe it's a launching page. I'm going to do a little cleanup for this code, because I'm going to remove the redundant block. I'm going to keep only the required blocks. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just rename this one to, maybe I'll make it as main. I create a new HTML file called index. The most common tags, I'm going to move it to index. The rest of the thing is going to contain only the content DOM. I'll show you, maybe to start with, maybe slightly misleading. Let me clean up the code. Just take everything from here. I'm just going to empty this particular DOM, the content DOM, because this is the one is changing, keep on changing. So we are going to load them dynamically. And okay, this part we wrote for drag and drop. Okay, that's fine. Okay. So just an empty page where we can dynamically load the content. And this particular one, which was previously the index page, exactly reverse I'm going to do. I'm going to remove the other tags. I'm going to keep only the content block. Okay. This script, we can keep it. So probably I can. I'll remove and probably copy paste it later. The script block, probably I can keep it or integrate it in the index file itself. Oh, it's already there, no problem. So I can go ahead and remove that. So this particular file only contains the required data, only the content block alone, excluding the content div. I remove that, only the content is here. So now I'm going to mix them using jQuery. Of course, let me save. I'll run the code if at all any change happened. Of course, this block is empty now because we remove the content block. Let me load it again. So on document ready function, what you can do, of course DOM is ready. Call the selector, in this case the content DOM class selector. There is a function called load. in jQuery. It's pretty easy. Out of the box, we can simply give which content you are going to load. So the moment the DOM is ready, it will make HTTP call and load the other external content which is located in main relative path. Remember, it's a relative path. If I keep it in a different folder, I would end up giving some folder name or something, whatever it may be. So that file will be loaded in this particular DOM or in this particular selector. So this particular selector as of now empty. It's going to move. Let's see. Now we got back, but slightly the page load sequence is different. First the DOM got ready and then the additional content was loaded from an external file called main.exe. So now for every click I am going to load the external file and replace this particular DOM, and keeping the same page load the additional content. Let's see how we can do, but before that we have to make sure we do a little cleanup, because redundant tags should not override. So we don't really want the tags repeated again and again. What really going to keep is the content block, I mean excluding the content div, only the required information. Not even open class, I mean HTML block, anything, everything I remove. Only the required one which you are trying to load. Okay, looks pretty simple. Those pages we haven't extended with a new feature. The index main already modified, and of course, okay, here we have a couple of things. Maybe okay, this particular block I'll move it to the main, because the one single page is going to be there. Or if at all you want to keep it, no problem, make sure the script block is moved to somewhere else. So I move this, I just kept it copy, move all the top. Okay, looks good. Just going to keep this script block. So I just cleaned up. I removed the redundant tags which unnecessarily there, because now this time we are going to load the page using jQuery dynamically using selector.load. So only the required information is more than enough, which is going to be loaded in this DOM. The rest of the thing is common, which is already there in the index.html file. I mean this part or any other part. Only the information which is going to be replaced had to be kept in a different file. We may need to worry about how to move the selectors. That also we have to see. But let's see if we could fix them as well. Now I'm going to go to index.html. Here we have a couple of things which actually does the href. We'll do a couple of things before, and I'm going to add an ID for each to handle. And this one I'm not going to call any URL, so because this thing is going to be, the link is going to be done through the external resource. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace that with a function, but just try to put it as if hash. ID, okay, ID if at all required, we'll do it. Okay, so this additional stuff we are going to do through JavaScript. So let me extend with couple of functions. Okay, external function not necessary to be inside document ready. because the event specific, anytime it could be called. Okay. Instead of writing individual function, what I'm going to say on link pressed, some number, calling a JavaScript function in href would require a JavaScript keyword and then the function name. I'm going to make it 1. Instead of page number, it will be easy for us. Page URL, we just keep it. We directly capture the URL and send it instead of sending the number. Otherwise, I need to add if else and other stuff. So to avoid that, into the main dot. And what is that? Registries. About. Once we have feedback. Okay, so when this link is clicked or this particular href is clicked, I'll be getting the page URL. But before that, I'd like to verify the click events are working. It will be better to verify in each and every step when you are very clear about the concept. So you can verify them and see how things are working. So when I click on them, now remember the page change is not happening because we removed the URL. Instead, we are just calling a JavaScript function. And whenever these things, of course, the transition doesn't happen. I mean, the selection is not happening. We'll work out maybe JavaScript CSS attribute we'll supply, and then we have that thing applied together. So now the click events are working. I mean, in this case, this is a kind of click event, but we attached it to href or hyperlink. Okay, so let's load them. Everything is loaded to the content selector, and HTML prefix I did not add, so let me add it. So file name that dot HTML. You see that without refreshing the page, every content is changing. You see that the same link I'm staying, the content external files are getting loaded. So we are nowhere refreshing the page. We just call them, and of course, yeah, the selection always stays in home. That we have to fix it. What is which file, which URL we are selecting, it's not changing. But of course, our page is loaded, and of course this is a effective design still, because I am only loading the required DOM, not the entire DOM. Once the page is loaded, rest of the required or changing DOM, I am just calling them through JQuery load, which is similar to an Ajax function, which makes a HTTP call and load your file. Okay, so let us fix the selection. This is slightly complicated, but let me see if I can fix that in the easiest way. Okay, we have a class called active for this DOM. Okay. Class. Okay, I may need an event to be sent inside. Dollar this. I'm slightly changing the method signature because I would need the context of the href so that I can apply an external class. I mean, in this case, I need to apply the class attribute. Okay. Modify that. Before that, I will make sure the context is called or not. This is very important because the URL looks slightly unique. Okay, I think the context is giving me a window object. It's really okay. Let me see this one. Window objects a bit heavyweight, but anyway, we still have them. Zero in that. I hope I should have a target FG. Okay, let me read it one by one. Okay, now there is an external Chrome JQuery object. Plenty of things are there. Okay, I think better to apply the ID instead of going through this one. I just need a context. I'm trying to arrive at it, but ID will give me an easiest option to bring it back. I'll just give ID same. Sorry. No, we don't need it. Just remove them. So the IDs are same what we are sending in the parameter, the function parameter. So I can easily get the access to my object in this way. So dollar hash I can add any attribute, in this case class attribute. I hope it's active. Not doing something else. Context is not defined. Okay, the color selection happens, but slightly messed up still. Everything applied, we have to make sure the other one is unselected. Before that, this attribute, you can set any attribute value to anything. For example, for a DOM, you have various attributes defined. Of course, the class itself an attribute. So for input, type is an attribute, value is an attribute. So whatever attribute you would like to set, you can set. So I mean, use that attribute function. For example, if you have an input form, you can set the value in the same way, but instead value we have a separate method .val that we are exclusively using. If anything goes other than that, you can use this one to set the active attribute. So the active page, we can highlight it according to the page is loaded, but now we are into a situation we need to just make it non-active so that the other one gets removed. So probably I am going to need a nasty code still. I really want to avoid that, but I don't have any other way. Okay, I just wanted to check to set the empty attribute class so that the active value is removed. Like that I am going to do for all. Main about contact feedback. So first step, I'm making sure everything is unchecked, then the specific one set to active. So in this case, the selection happens. Everything works as it was previously, but only difference, the page does not refresh this time. The page is remaining in the same single URL, but the additional DOMs are loaded through JQuery load function. So this is the standard way we are going to use, and of course since we started with the HTTP, and we have to see how the typical what you call HTTP connection request and response sequence work. Once you have a clear idea about it, and of course you can go ahead and create various web service based project. But before getting into that, I'd like to finish the geolocation part, which is a small snippet of code, so that tomorrow in detail we can see about, or probably if I get a time I'll write it now itself, because I'd like to really show where this particular Ajax loader could be used. So what's the real purpose about it? Let me try that. Is there any empty page available? Plenty of empty pages in this example. Okay, contact us. Maybe showing the current location makes sense here. So I'm going to write a geolocation code. I'm going to retrieve a latitude longitude of my device, in this case my computer, and using that latitude longitude I'm going to retrieve the readable address. So let's see how we can do that. Okay, contact. This particular DOM is loaded only when this particular contact page is clicked. There are various ways, but I would like to keep the script tag wherever required so that I load only when it is required. Instead, I can keep all the script tag in index.html. That's also one good approach. like keep everything in a single place and use it throughout the code. But this particular script tag, because sometimes I may overload the page, unnecessary JavaScript files will load, that may not be required for the specific DOM. That DOM may be loaded later point of time. That time, keeping the script tag wherever required would be a easiest solution. Okay. First thing, is there any way we can access the location? First, I need to check whether I do have a location object in my machine. Remember, I really don't have an idea it will work in your computer, because the geolocation is identified by the browsers based on the internet connection. So I have connected with the external internet connection, so I have a valid IP. That IP may be translated into a readable location. But whereas you're part of a LAN network, like that is maybe you will only have the private IP address range, so it may be difficult for your machine to identify the location if at all called. If that doesn't work, of course I'll write the that's why I'm just going to check if there is no location. You can use a hard-coded location for testing purpose. So that object we call it navigator, and geolocation, I hope. This is an object. Navigator is a global object, and there will be an object called geolocation. If it is available, yes, you have a location, valid location. So for that, get current. These are all the built-in objects. Position or location, I don't know, but let me try first. Put a callback function. The callback will be given an object called position. So first thing, I'll have to check whether it is called or not. Okay, I'll explain this block. Navigator is a built-in object. Browser trying to identify your current device location through which various IP addresses, the network properties, it will try to identify. If it is a phone, naturally the phone is going to have a GPS hardware which will be having a more accurate values. Of course, browser may be having a slightly accurate value. For non-mobiles, it will try to read the network, like IP address, try to arrive at a possible. This may not be a very accurate solution. Of course, somehow it can give you a current city or maybe the current nearest street where you are. So that location it will give you. So this geolocation object has a callback function, or it has a asynchronous function called get current position. Whenever the position available, this particular block will be called. Otherwise, this block won't be called. And it's also interest based. For example, the user explicitly accept to load the location. First thing, when I click contact, you see this, there is a dot. It means the page is tracking your solution. This would appear you are trying to access a location of this device. More precisely, if I am accessing in a different browsers, because I have already granted the permission, let me use a Firefox. And use a Firefox. I'm going to put the same URL. See, the very first time when I call, would you like to share your location? You have to explicitly grant the permission. That's why we have a callback function, because when the user accepts only, the location would be verified. It's a privacy related. Usually these things, sometimes user may not prefer to share the location. So you have to explicitly grant the location. But for this example, when I was testing, I already granted the permission, that's why it did not ask. So if you really want to test, once you grant permission, try to clear the cache memory or go to the new browser and verify. Okay, let's see whether that console prints something. Yeah, location available. So my device has a active location. Let me get back the latitude and longitude. Position coordinates, COORD coords, COO coordinates, latitude. This is for latitude. We print the longitude also. Okay, I'm missing plus. So if all goes well, I should see the latitude and longitude here. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. So I'm getting a latitude and longitude values. It means somehow my laptop is aware of, or my browser is aware of the current location. Now, what we are getting is a latitude longitude, which is not a readable one at all. So we have to reverse geocode, because the geocoded value we have got now, we have to reverse geocode it and display the exact readable address. And Google is maintaining a comprehensive database of latitude, longitude. Of course, you know that the best usage of Google Map. So what we can do, I'm going to use Google Map Web Service, which you can also use, but you have to register once. If you have a Gmail account, you have to register and get the API key. The procedures are same. You will get, maybe if I get a time, I'll explain how to get the Google APIs. Otherwise, you can simply follow the instruction to obtain it, or you can use my API key for your testing purpose. So in that geocoding API, actually I really need a reverse geocoding. So various URLs. This is the geocoding. Is there any reverse geocoding? Okay, here is. There is a reverse geocoding API also available. Yeah. So if you notice this URL type, they have given us the external URL. You need to append the URL with your latitude and longitude and put your API key. When you call this through Ajax, you will get a response having a valid readable address. I'm just using this example to explain how Ajax works, one point. And of course, since I don't have time to do a server-side coding, I'm just using the Google's public API so that it fetches the information from the Google server. But typically, Ajax should be used same server data. Of course, URL should be belongs to the same server. For example, you are trying to get the data. The data should also be in the same host. Then that's the most of the condition that Ajax will work for a security policy. But that could be that security setting can be excluded by having required headers, so that Google also, or Google kind of public APIs can also be called. Of course, we will see them in detail if required. So I'm just going to use my API key. I've already registered. You can use my API key for this example. Let me copy this URL. Okay. Let's go back to our code. Okay. So where I'm going to display the result, I'm going to keep another DOM div. Okay. This div ID is a location result, and I'm going to keep the image URL With height, let me see if it is so big, I'll reduce it, otherwise I'm going to keep the same. First thing, I'd like to verify whether it's working. Okay, not bad. Okay, this will be showing till it receives the response from Google. The moment the response from Google is received, this will be replaced with the actual values. So it's kind of a placeholder to display the result. By default, there is a Ajax loader. I'm just putting it. Okay, now I'm going to do an Ajax calling. It is similar to load, like what we did, selector.load and call the external file. But in this case, it's slightly going to be different. There's a built-in function called $Ajax. This particular function can do any Ajax call using JQuery, of course. 3 or 4 parameters are quite important. Remember what I did? It expects a JavaScript object as an argument. So I just put a curly brace. Now I'm going to give the attribute and the values. First one will be type. What kind of a call you're going to make, get or post, whatever type. Okay. Important URL, which URL you are trying to call, so that it will give you a result. The URL I just copied. This is a URL, but I need to change this latitude longitude with the value what I am receiving. Okay. And are you sending any data to the server? I'm not sending, so but it is, if you are not sending anything, this particular attribute value may not be required, but I just try to show this is also there. And finally, success callback. Sorry, not all the arguments required. It's a method overloaded one. This is the data is more than enough. This is something the Google is going to give you back once you call this URL. Or I'm just trying to say Google, but any URL what you pointed here will give you a result. But for a security policy, if you are calling, making an Ajax call, the same side, the particular server code also should exist in the same host. Some other URLs having the security policy granted will give you a result. Of course, Google has security policy granted. It's a public URL. Anybody or any kind of external device or JavaScript can make a call and get the result. So let me try to see is there I am getting any result or not. Okay. Let me, first thing, the response is going to be a JSON type. This one I would like to replace with my value. Latitude separated by comma. Okay. So I'm going to make this one, only the URL is appended in such a way the latitude longitude replaced with the current location latitude longitude which is received by my browser. First we'll verify. Okay, I didn't do anything on the view side, but if you notice the console, yes, the moment the latitude longitude received, I get the result JSON object. There is a bunch of result is available. In that, if you notice, the formatted address is having a slightly readable one, 33 or the Sydenham's Rome, Periampet, Chennai, something like that. Somehow it tried to identify my location. So this is the one I'd like to display over there. So let's see how we can do that. Okay. Before that, let us slightly analyze how it comes. Results. Okay, this particular object contains 2 objects inside. One object called results, which is giving me an array, another object called status, which is giving me a string. So if I have a status OK, I can go ahead and read the results array. So let's see. First thing, if data dot status equal to key. So means there is a status object, and if it is OK, not a case, then go ahead and pick the results array. Before that, I'll also verify whether I'm going inside the result array. I should get an array. Of course, square bracket, I'm getting an array, bunch of values. So you know how to iterate over an array. So use a for loop, or probably the first value is more than enough for us. Sort of iterating, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the first object value itself. So if greater than 0 and map the value to here, dollar HTML first object, 0th index. Inside there is an object called formatted address. Learn to analyze the object and retrieve the value accordingly. Maybe I'll slightly make it bigger. So this DOM, which is having a Ajax loader, will be replaced as soon as the result is retrieved. So let me try. Yeah, got it. Now we have a readable address. So as soon as I go here, remember it takes a while because it is calling an external server which is going through internet. Sometimes you may have internet, your internet may have got disconnected. So if anything goes wrong, you will end up seeing the Ajax loader quite longer. As soon as you receive the result, the Ajax loader will be removed and you will have the value. So it's kind of this is something we create as if something is loading. It's actually a DOM manipulation. It's not something like something is coming from there. We keep something temporary. When the result is arrived, we are replacing with the actual result. So this particular example, making an Ajax request, asynchronous request. Asynchronous means when a request is made, the response will come later point of time. It may not be instant. Or asynchronous request in such a case, in HTTP, when you make a request, the server has to send you the response. So request and response, there's are two time-taking procedures. The request depending on your internet connection and of course the server's capability to accept your data. Response, of course, server's capability to retrieve the required file and send it to the network, and of course network capability, and then it comes. Everything is a time-taking process. Nobody assumes a definite timeline on how the data will be released or in a definite time. So everything is an asynchronous one. So an asynchronous request is made and the response is retrieved, and of course we are displaying it over here. So this Ajax, this function's pretty straightforward, very easy in jQuery. All you need to supply a couple of attribute values. Tell whether you are going to make a get or post request. Supply the URL. If you are sending post, for example, if you are making a post request, payloads or anything you would like to send, the username, password, or anything else, you can attach it over here as a JSON object, put it here. When everything goes to the server, server will respond, the result will be available through an argument called data. In this example, the server is giving me a JSON object, so I did the JSON parsing in this case. Of course, JSON object, of course, directly converted into a what you call JavaScript object, so I can easily iterate over and identify them and get the results displayed out of the box. So this particular example is making use of Ajax, and also we made sure the entire page is loaded without refreshing anything. So we've already made it quite efficient, plus we saw a simple example on Ajax. There is a security policy exists. You cannot attempt this to different URLs. Mostly an URL having a security policy set to OK, so that it can be accessed publicly. If you are accessing your own URL, which you have a server-side coding done, yes, you can do it. Same host without any restriction can be accessed. But I really don't want to spend much time on the server-side coding, because that will end up explaining more things, since you have already come from an ASP background, and of course you may be knowing how to create a web solution. So if you have that server-side created and make a post which captures the post data and process it and display it. I also have one simple example using Node.js. Of course, we'll do a lot of detour, then we'll see what is Node.js and how this thing is getting popular nowadays, and how we can create server-side coding using JavaScript itself. That's what I was talking about. JavaScript seems to be going in a way that usually the JavaScript considered as a client-side coding. Now, JavaScript widely used in the server-side deployment also. So when you write the same language in the server and client side, you have a lot of flexibility. But most of the today's web solution, the server-side code is done by a server-side scripting, like .NET or Java environment or PHP, Ruby, those things which compiles and gives you a response. The client side only the JavaScript we are using it. But there is a way to use a JavaScript on both the sides. Node.js, various sockets available now, and various plugins available where you can create instantly create a server side. Server instance itself using Node.js, and of course, while we do a small detour or any other explanation, we will come back to that. But as of now, you need to understand jQuery has a simple Ajax function where you can make a request to an external site and get the response and attach it. And we also saw a simple example on how to use Ajax loaders so that we display an asynchronous result, still not to refresh the page, and we get the result. Okay. If at all you are not getting into navigator get geolocation, what you can do, simply use this block inside else and hard code any values, like the URL which I got it here. Where is that URL? Yeah, here it is. Just hard code it if you are not getting the geocoding, because I'm 100% sure your browser is not going to give you any location. Missing anything? So you can use this hard coded one to test if at all you are not getting a geolocation. I'll just keep this commented. If you get a location, use the current location and display the specific result. Otherwise, use a hard-coded value of a latitude, longitude, and see how it works. And try to create the Ajax loader replaced with the value what you get. And this iteration, remember the JSON parsing. I did analyze the result. What is the incoming result is coming, and then retrieve the object which I need, and I am displaying it. So you may get a complex different design or different object. Make sure you pick the required functions or required data as you need it. Okay, that's it.